let's come on to talk about menopause. What is menopause? Well, if sleep is a river, I think of menopause as being the perfect storm. You have these physical symptoms, and depending on which list you read, you can have anything from 30 symptoms to 100 symptoms that can all be associated with perimenopause. And in a moment, I'll kind of define, what exactly is menopause, so we know we're talking from the same place. But essentially, we have these physical symptoms as a consequence of hormonal changes and fluctuations that happen in this period as we move out of our fertile years and into the sort of post-fertile years, into menopause and post-menopause. And it's actually the fluctuations, not just the fact that they're dropping, that the hormone levels are dropping. That's what causes the challenges, because our bodies like things to be the same, like equanimity. And when one minute our estrogen's high, the next minute it's dropped, over different months, and our progesterone levels are coming down and our testosterone is potentially coming down, our body isn't sure how to handle it. And that's why we end up with these symptoms popping up. And we have estrogen receptors in every organ system of our body. So, we can end up with symptoms that seem very random, because it's like, well, how can that be to do with my hormones? But we've got that playing out, which can disrupt sleep. So whether that's night sweats is a really big one, and it's something that we'll talk about, and what I talk about in the sleep solution, and share some tools for. But needing to go to the toilet more, UTIs are quite common. And when we think, then we build in emotional symptoms that come along with that, with those fluctuating hormones. So anxiety is something that I see a lot, something that certainly was a really strong part of my perimenopause experience, and still kind of pops up for me. And I have to practice all of these things too to support myself. And then, of course, we have the impact of this modern world, the fact that, we've got pressure, we've got stress, we have inflammation, we've got lots of lifestyle things, and we know the pressure on us, on women in particular. We might be in that space of having aging parents, potentially young or teenage children, and we've got finances, we've got commitments, we've got responsibilities, and when you combine all of those things, it's not really surprising that we end up feeling this kind of pressure of that. And when we look at defining menopause, it's diagnosed retrospectively. So after 12 months without a period, that's when we say, right, that's menopause, that one day. And the average age is 51, but it can be earlier, and it can be that can be through surgery or cancer treatment, or premature ovarian insufficiency, which is just where sometimes people just stop ovulating earlier. And as I said, they can be really wide ranging and last for anything from 4 to 10 years. So, sometimes it's not just about just writing this out. We have to actually sometimes do things to support ourselves. And over 60% of women approaching menopause, and sometimes beyond, experience insomnia symptoms, compared to just 1 in 4 in the general population. And sometimes those symptoms can persist even after the thing that caused the disruption. So maybe when our hormones postmenopausally are more stable, we can end up with this hangover of difficult symptoms. And sometimes that can be quite confusing for people, especially, like, let's say, for example, somebody, you've stabilized your hormones, maybe you're taking HRT, or you're doing other things, or maybe you are, past, you're postmenopausal, and so things are more stable, but still your sleep is a problem. And that can feel confusing. And we'll talk a bit more about why that happens. But the impact of this period is that 1 in 10 women do leave their jobs and reduce their hours, and 50% of women don't push themselves forwards. And some of that is a positive thing. It can be, because it's about making different choices for ourselves and deciding, what is it I want for my life now. But sometimes it's as a result of not feeling able to cope, and that's where it's a problem. And for that, like, beacon of hope, postmenopausally, a lot of women can experience new zest for life, when things have stabilized. And for some women, like, and what I often experience with the women I work with, is that sometimes this storm that happens, because it forces them to address lifestyle issues, emotional issues, or patterns of coping that were never that supportive, sometimes it can be the start of a very different journey and a start of actually a really new positive phase in life. And it's about, sometimes it's about just building the right toolkit, just like with the storm. You know, if I'm out in a storm, if I've got the right equipment, then I can weather it. So, you know, that's what, you know, for me, like the mindful menopause mindset that this umbrella of, you know, where insomnia fits and treating insomnia is about managing your thoughts, supportive coping, mindfulness, and finding purpose. You know, these are all ways that we can do that. And so, working with our sleep is a really important part of that. Because, you know, that storm, you know, for you, it might be, you know, very intense storms. So you have these periods of really intense symptoms and then clear skies. For somebody else, it might be, you know, just constant drizzle, you know, just a general feeling of just not feeling great. And so we're all so unique, and what's going to support and work for us is so unique as well. So, you know, a big part of it as well is getting to know yourself and getting to know what you need. So let me know in the chat, you know, what's your experience of perimenopause, if that's something that's affecting you right now. So somebody says, yeah, really relate to this. Big storms for me. Yeah. Somebody else said, yeah, I'm on HRT and it's helped with some things, but I don't feel like it's the full solution. No. And you know, that can be really common. Like sometimes HRT can be, you know, life-changing, but sometimes for some women, it doesn't actually, you know, there's some fundamental things that are going on that are not just about menopause. They're also about, you know, some of the ways that we've developed over time. And, you know, we put other people's needs above our own. And so, yes, it's quite a complicated picture. Yeah, thank you for sharing.